Welcome to Unshielded, the podcast where we explore the cutting edge of blockchain, digital assets, and the technologies shaping the future of decentralized finance and privacy. Today, I'm joined by Luca Cosivi, head of open source at OpenZeppelin, the global leader in securing blockchain applications and smart contract systems. OpenZeppelin's open source contract libraries have become the industry standard for smart contract development, supporting projects from Coinbase and Ethereum Foundation to Aave and Uniswap. Luca, welcome to Unshielded. How are you today?
Thanks, Lauren. All great. Just back from a week at DevConnect, so it was great fun spending time with the team and a lot of people in the ecosystem. Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, I bet that is kind of a family gathering almost.
Yeah, it kind of is. And yeah, it was a great time. So, recovering a little bit, but, great to be talking to you today.
Totally. It's like an exhaustion, but a good kind, and beautiful weather, I'm sure. And what were the highlights from DevConnect?
I mean, obviously the highlights is always seeing, a lot of friends, talking about where the ecosystem is at. I think there was a big focus on applications and really real world use cases coming on chain. So yeah, it was great to hear real impact rather than just abstract roadmaps, which are also fun to dive into.
Theoretical. Yeah. I mean, sure, sitting around late night. I love that conversation, but really hearing how people are using it today, it feels incredible and really exciting, right? To hear about how people adopting. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's do an intro, actually. Really, who are you and what do you do at OpenZeppelin today?
Yeah, well, today at OpenZeppelin, I lead our open source product and growth. And in essence, our objective is, expanding our existing open source libraries, developer tools, both, within the EVM space, which we've been building, in Ethereum really since Ethereum went to mainnet, and expanding that to new ecosystems, right? And, we announced this year a partnership with Midnight, as a privacy preserving smart contract platform. So we're expanding our libraries, developer tools to reach more and more developers that want to build different types of applications, right? Such as one that can ensure privacy to its users. So yeah, that's our focus here at OpenZeppelin. And I've been building in and around Ethereum for about 5 years now. Started building applications, then helped build some wallets, explorers. And then I joined OpenZeppelin 2 years ago, and we've expanded our open source work across many ecosystems now, and we look forward to continue doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's so fun to be able to be in the open source space because doing it all in public, you get to be building community, right? Anytime you meet cool people, cool projects, it's like contribute, be a part of this, right? Like everyone gets to be along for the ride. What got you excited about open source, I guess, in the first place?
Yeah, I was always, in these open source communities, I guess by nature, right? I mean, a blockchain goes to mainnet, it has to be open source, right? The data is open to anyone, and a permissionless chain, anyone can deploy contracts, interact with it, and so by nature, blockchains have been open source, and I just loved that. Again, as OpenZeppelin, we understood that developers wanted open source libraries and tools, and there was a strong need for it in the early days of Ethereum. And yeah, I think just the ability to work with people from all around the world, the permissionless nature of open source communities, I think is just, very unique. And in the blockchain world, it's skilled by the fact that, projects will have, tokens and treasuries and much more complex governance than maybe Web2 open source projects had, which definitely makes it, more entertaining, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so intersectionality of smart contracts, security, and blockchain development. Where does this all fit together? And can you give us kind of the brief introduction from the OpenZeppelin perspective?
Yeah, I guess I'd start maybe with the historical timeline. So Ethereum went to mainnet July 2015. A year after mainnet went live, OpenZeppelin was already founded actually right after mainnet. So we were already around for a year. And what happened in July 2016 is we had the DAO hack, which, was the largest hack at the time. There was many people in the Ethereum community pulled funds together. And the idea was to have this, on-chain DAO that would invest in companies. At the time, I believe, we're talking around like millions and millions of dollars that, were hacked, and, it led to a fork, right, with Ethereum Classic and Ethereum Mainnet, there being a fork. And at that time, people really understood the importance of smart contract design, the issue of, having funds on chain, and there being a vulnerability in the code. So actually, a month after the DAO hack happened in August 2016, Manu Araoz, our founder and CTO at the time, actually created a commit on GitHub creating OpenZeppelin contracts, understanding that there was going to be a need for really good smart contracts that cannot be broken, cannot be hacked. And the community really, gathered around that initiative. And over time, we built a lot of the implementations for fungible tokens, non-fungible tokens, multi-token standards. Nowadays, that's expanded to a lot of contract standards, utilities that developers use, and a variety of other repositories. And as the ecosystem grew, we've been 10 years, we've had 10 years now of smart contract platforms, where we're taking that leap into, new areas like privacy with Midnight. And so, the importance of good smart contract design is because, if you have bad smart contracts that can easily be hacked, your user funds are at risk. So, people just love being able to rely on an ERC20 that has been battle tested and audited by, the best in the space. And given our experience and the fact that we've been around for 10 years now, that's, that's the intersection, I think, of security and smart contract development.
The stamp of approval, if you will. My first interaction, I would say, or exposure to OpenZeppelin personally, was I come from the Polkadot ecosystem, and I remember the get of OpenZeppelin coming on board, and just everyone's enthusiasm, because it was such the audit felt like, oh, we're really getting a review of credibility. And that felt like such a pivot and a change for the developer ecosystem. And it felt, similarly for our Midnight journey. So actually, and I should contextualize who I am. I lead our developer relations team. And so developer experience is so important for me, as we're shaping our ecosystem, and we're in the early days of that for Midnight, right? We're still in testnet, and we're defining what developer experience will look like for Midnight right now, and it's still kind of greenfield. Where the Midnight is still, or the roadmap is still being shaped, and the developers that are a part of this whole thing, right, the ecosystem right now, are battle testing it with us, and here for the good, here for the bad. But I think something I'm curious from your perspective is how important is community engagement or education in promoting best practices for smart contract development?
I think it's extremely important. I mean, we have around 40 open source developers nowadays working, across the Ethereum and different smart contract platforms. And I think there's a real, incentive internally for all of them to become, core contributors to those communities beyond the library work on, right? We depend on, in Midnight, we depend on the compact language. There's, an ecosystem of different tools that we will probably integrate with. And so we're very keen on letting and hiring, obviously, developers that have shown to go that extra mile, right? And they want to be part of a broader developer community. And obviously, we look for people that have already contributed and worked on either our open source or relevant open source repos out there that could already be in the Midnight ecosystem. Because at the end of the day, I mean, these are developer communities, and so we really focus on just empowering our developers so that they're out there, they're educating, they're in hackathons, they're giving talks, workshops, and connecting with that that community of developers that wants to build privacy preserving applications, right, for Midnight, for example. So there's a strong focus in that in our company, and it really, if you look at longest standing, I guess, ecosystem, which is Ethereum, I mean, we've contributed well beyond just building Solidity libraries, right? I mean, we've contributed to the core development, to Solidity, the language itself. We've proposed, I think, more than 10, 15 ERCs, EIPs, Many of them attributed to Franjo, one of our, the first employee and developer of OpenZeppelin libraries. So we really, try to become core contributors to the protocol and to the broader ecosystem by, giving, as many resources as we can to the development team that's building the open source library.
I love that. That's great. Yeah. What are, I guess, can you speak to what initiatives or programs at OpenZeppelin you found to be most effective, I guess, for helping new developers adopt secure coding standards? Like, how do you encourage folks to adopt that or empower them to even?
Yeah, well, I think that, it starts with really good smart contract design, and that, sounds obvious, but
Sure.
it's actually really hard, right? I mean,
No, it's actually really good. That's true. It's a good
yeah,
point.
I think there's a tendency in our space to do a lot of in-person activations, and we definitely do that. We participate in many of them, but our focus, first of all, is really building the best libraries, the best fungible standard, non-fungible token standard, utilities, access control. That's what we focus a lot of our time on, and our teams learn from everything that's happened in the Ethereum space, and now many other ecosystems that we've worked with, like StarkNet, Stellar, Sui. So we try and just build the best libraries. That's where it starts. And then, the concepts are difficult, especially for a Web2 developer, right? So a lot of people actually land on our wizard every year, right? So we have, I think, more than 500,000, 650,000 views in average every year on wizard.openzeppelin.com, which helps developers really, understand how our libraries can like plug together, right? How, you can make an ERC20 plausible, birdable, and do all these different configurations that uses the, let's say, the battle tested audited code from the libraries, and so that's the first step. Great documentation. That's how we make sure that people adopt the libraries. Also, another important factor is just making sure we're there early, right? So with Midnight, we've been working now, I believe we're going to come up soon in a year in February. You can go in our GitHub, right? You can see the compact contracts. We already have token implementations. We have LunarSwap, the first, example application that people can use to build DEXs on Midnight. And so, us being there early, understanding the platform, helping shape the roadmap, giving feedback to the rest of the tooling ecosystem, to the language, I think is very important to make sure that all of this kind of goes into the right direction, and that developers can already leverage us in testnet. I think that's very important. And, we've seen, like with StarkNet, for example, we've been around for 4 years now building the Cairo contracts library, and, around 70% of all of DeFi TVL is using Cairo contracts. In Ethereum, I think on the L1, it's 80% of DeFi TVL is importing our contracts in some shape or form. So the fact of being there early means that there will be strong adoption and security in that ecosystem, because they're using these audited building blocks, and actually hopefully will end up reducing their security costs down the line, because they don't have to audit as much of their code. So yeah, I guess those areas are really important in adoption.
I love it. I am an educator kind of first and foremost. And so it sounds like, yeah, education, like start early, be a part of it from the get. I mean, you absolutely have been a part of my developer relations team's onboarding. I mean, your contracts are where, when I have new joiners to my team, it's where we send them. Those are the contracts that they, that's what they begin with almost, right? Like that's how developers should onboard and make sense of standards. And it's a great starting point. And I think it's really important that we utilize it as the launch pad for other developers then too. I want to kind of pivot the conversation and talk more about all of the cool kind of community hubs and work that you do, because learning about ETH Samba and the collaborative spaces like Bamba that you do. And I'm curious how those community efforts complement your work with OpenZeppelin, if they overlap at all.
Yeah, they definitely overlap. So when I got into the Ethereum space, I spent the better part of 2 years, traveling from one Ethereum hackathon to the other. I grew up in Brazil, and when I came back to Rio, I realized how behind we were from many other countries like Argentina, like Turkey, India, in the global south, but also obviously in countries like the US and Europe and continents like Europe. So together with some friends that were also working in the Ethereum ecosystem and the broader blockchain industry, we decided to create Samba and focus on organizing like high quality hackathons. We really took example from Eve Global. They built one of the largest development communities in the Ethereum space, and their hackathons were very high quality. And so we wanted to bring that to developers in Brazil that maybe didn't have the opportunity to travel abroad yet. And so using our network and the fact that we're already working in the space, we pulled some sponsors together and started organizing hackathons here in Rio, which people always want to visit this country. At least people that are not in Brazil. Some people in Brazil think it's too scary to go to, but actually, foreigners often think it's a great place to visit, which it is, by the way. And so it wasn't that hard actually to convince outsiders to come to Rio. And so we put together some hackathons. Last year we had 500 hackers from all around Brazil come and hack. This year we had actually an event in São Paulo together with ETH Latam, which organizes conferences all around Brazil. And we had actually Vitalik come from the first time. So yeah, we've been organizing these hackathons, and yeah, we're going to keep doing it. We ended up also opening a hub, a permanent hub in Rio for some of the hackers that were based here, so that they would have a space to work from. So yeah, our goal has really been just bringing blockchain technology to Brazil. There's a lot of institutional adoption here. There hasn't been as much of a thriving DeFi ecosystem like our sister country Argentina here, where there's been a bigger necessity to have DeFi, just given the economic context in the country. But Brazil has, a lot of good things, a lot of good ingredients for blockchain adoption. And we're seeing it by the fact that, this year there was a massive event in São Paulo, and people want us to do more hackathons. So we're going to keep doing that next year. And it definitely complements OpenZeppelin, right? It's my way to, connect with developers, and many of our, open source engineers are actually either hacking at the hackathons or they're mentors, they're judges. So it's a great place for us to keep getting feedback and connecting with developers. But in this case, it's just Brazil.
I see. No, I love that. We had a overlapping event from DevConnect last week. Midnight did. It was our first ever Midnight Summit, and Emmanuel from the OpenZeppelin team came and joined and participated in the hack, and it was awesome to have him there. And I was like, gosh, I can't believe we're competing with DevConnect for you. But it was, such an honor to have him and have some folks from, the part of the team that are working on the Midnight project from y'all. But there's something really fun about being in a hack room all together with everyone. The energy is just so contagious, and seeing what projects come from. I always say to everyone in the Midnight space, I'm like, we're all too old to know what are the good ideas for this use case in this technology. Like, we need to be forever. A hackathon needs to be running at all times. We need to be at universities with students, and pushing the boundaries, because the limit does not exist about how we can use programmable privacy. And we need to be pushing the boundaries to understand, and hackathons are our tickets to that. So that's really cool. It sounds like those will be really successful. I would love for Midnight to be involved in those in the future, if possible.
Yeah, that would be great.
If you're open for it.
Yeah, and I think M is awesome, and it's great to hear he was hacking with all of you at the summit. But yeah, I mean, we love participating in these hackathons. It's a way for us to really get raw feedback, connect, see people using the libraries, see the code base. Definitely, it's a great opportunity to just be in person, and
It's way better than hearing or trying to send out a survey and getting people to fill out and how would you rate this 1 through 5? First, you can actually be like, what do you hate about this? What do you like about it? Or what do you wish existed? What docs do you wish, I don't know, were, in the world? I totally agree. It can be so helpful in shaping roadmap or whatever it is, but very cool. That sounds, it's very exciting. I love it. What advice, I suppose, would you give to developers or teams that are looking to contribute meaningfully, I would say, to open source projects in a growing ecosystem?
I mean, I think what helped me was just finding something I was very passionate about. I was passionate about building, on-chain applications, and just entering a Discord server, asking questions to an early project, or opening up a discussion on a GitHub repo. like, Lunar Swap or like the one we have for Midnight. I think it's called Midnight Apps, by the way, and that's where you can find Lunar Swap or compact contracts. Just opening a conversation, asking questions, I think is a great place to start. A lot of developers think, oh, I need to, already contribute. It is, take it step by step. Contributing to the compact contracts. I mean, these are foundational contracts for the ecosystem. So asking questions, how you can leverage them, how you can use them to maybe build an example application. I think that's a great place to start. And if you contributing over time, you might make a meaningful PR to even the compact contracts that then will be code that gets audited and used by hundreds of or thousands of projects on the Midnight Network. So I think the best place to start off, and at least where I started, was just asking questions on forums, on Discord servers, and taking it from there, basically.
Yeah, I think back personally, like my first open source contribution was for a Hacktoberfest, and I think it was docs, right? Like it was just maybe not code, but in a README and just fixing something, right? Like just small and starting maybe in an easier place and just ripping the Band-Aid off almost, like not putting the pressure on that it needed to be a perfect fix of some kind. And finding a repo that I felt excited about and something that I could be, kind of be passionate about and contribute to and be a part of that community. Midnight would love for anyone listening to be a part of this community. Our ecosystem is like still shaping. And so I think it's a really fun time to join this ecosystem and this community. And so, I feel like the call to action is we welcome everyone at this point to, come and be a part of it because it's still being defined. But I love that advice. Yeah. Thank you. I love it.
Yeah. I think the space of privacy, I mean, so much needs to be rethought, right? We've only been building on smart contract platforms for 10 years. So the idea of now having privacy, what that means, right? Both from a protocol perspective, but also like the application you build. I think just joining the conversation is amazing. So anyone that wants to, join a very thoughtful conversation on privacy and what that means, for an application that, enables people to invest on-chain funds or send funds, across the world it's an interesting new paradigm, and it's very unexplored, especially from the conversations we're having.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's a massive paradigm shift, especially for all of us that are native to this space. It's like we've never had to think about what you would have to obfuscate or disclose because it was always just you disclose it all. And so it's like, wait, you mean I get to make that choice now? And even we had a really successful hackathon that was Battleship, the board game, just even thinking about like, you need to keep that private. And then, at some point you need to disclose it. You need to display it. And that really helped people kind of wrap their mind around it's. So, at one point it needs to be private. And then once that smart contract hits a particular moment or something is true, okay, that's correct. Or like, okay, go. And now disclose. So that was really helpful, I think, in helping kind of help retrain our brains a bit. But it's wild. I'm doing interviewing right now, and I was talking to someone who is not coming from the Web3 world, and he's Web 2, but is interested in the space. And I was like, this is kind of funny that this is like the place you're looking to join because this will be a totally different blockchain experience than all other blockchains. Like, I don't want this to shape, how you will see everything else will be different. Like we are a rare egg or rare, thing in this space. And, I love that we get to be your first foray into it. And but just FYI, like giving you the heads up, we're different, but
yeah, this rabbit hole definitely
enter
goes
at your own risk.
Yeah, I mean, the question as well, which I think is, as a security company, we think about a lot, right? Is like, how do you know a hack is happening, right? I mean, if it's all private, right? So there's a lot of like very big questions, right? I mean, how do you know if that person in this Battleship
It's a good
game
question. Yes.
is cheating, and if they're cheating, but if it's private, how do you know?
And we can't see the metadata, right? And so okay, great. So should I even be up on stage talking about like how many developers do we have building on Midnight? I can tell you how many smart contract deploys I have, but like, should I know that? Like, I can tell you how many commits we have on GitHub or how many, committers we have. That's probably not the correct noun, but like, I can tell you that data, but I can talk about network activity, but really metadata wise, I can't see who is authoring. I can tell you the wallet, how many wallets there are, but that doesn't speak to actually, right? Like that's the interesting thing too. Yeah, from your perspective, security wise, dang, that's a totally other, wow. I haven't thought about that yet.
Yeah, monitoring and security in a private chain is something we're starting to wrap our head around. And yeah, there's a long way to go.
Yeah, what will that contract look like? Well, that's for y'all to figure out, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, we're partners now. We'll figure it out together.
Yeah, like together we'll go into this. Wow, cool. TBD. Wow, that's very interesting. Let's look into the future with this rapid adoption of smart contracts and DeFi. What trends in blockchain security do you see emerging over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to DeFi and security, we had a major hack a few weeks ago, so it sounds ironic to say it, but we are definitely seeing systems becoming solidified in their security, how they're written, and that's great for the ecosystem, right? I think we've seen big market crashes, DeFi, resisting that, people trying to attack code and really not finding any vulnerabilities. So I think that DeFi solidifying is great. And that is actually driving a lot of institutions to now seriously look at how they can build DeFi applications with some permissioning, right? And I think that's the, convergence we're going to see, the DeFi space with the institutional space, both converging towards the same direction actually. And there's still a few decades to go. I think we're not going to move as fast as the AI space. We're trying to bring capital, on chain, but I definitely think that we're seeing that convergence, right? We're seeing the institutions come and want to build more than just stable coins and participate in DeFi, build DeFi applications, and with solutions like privacy, that's making it really possible for them, right? There are just things that they need obfuscated. They don't want, their users don't want the world to know what they're doing. And
Yeah,
and
hospital
so
can't put that online or on chain. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly. And we're also seeing, DeFi players, build their front ends. We saw it recently with Aave releasing the Aave app. So yeah, I think there's real like convergence happening between those two spaces, and it's great to see.
How does OpenZeppelin, I suppose, like prepare developers for those kind of upcoming security challenges and evolving programming paradigms?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been working quite a lot on bringing AI into our security process, and I think that will change smart contract security a lot. Both on the side of people that are trying to find vulnerabilities, but also us as trying to protect protocols from getting hacked. That is changing a lot. I think the space, and that's moving really quickly. But yeah, I mean, we want to continue building great libraries, great tools, and we're extending that, right? I mean, LunarSwap is an example of that. Contracts are great, but as you create a complex application with privacy involved, there's an entirely new paradigm. So if you want to accelerate your ecosystem, having some apps that you can inherit from, I think is going to be extremely helpful. So we're really excited about some of our apps that will help developers really go from 0 to 1 faster than just having to take a lot of contracts and plug them together into a fully fledged DEX application, especially as applications get more complex. So yeah, that's something we're starting to do to make developers' life easier.
Yeah, it's just so much when it comes to adoption, just faster and more immediate. I love that. That's really neat. Okay, yeah, this has been an awesome conversation. Let's close this out. Do you have any hot takes about crypto or blockchain adoption? Want to use this opportunity to make any reckless predictions?
Reckless predictions. I mean, I think that like crypto and blockchain we're not like the spotlight anymore, I guess, in the
No,
world. I think everyone's looking at
we're
AI,
our
and
fad.
so, we're now in. I think we're gonna have less of these crazy crashes and bull markets, and we're going into a phase of institutional adoption, which for some people that's boring, but I think that's exciting because it's where we really like talk to the rest of the world and figure out how we bring everyone on chain, right? And we, I think we're in it's a step in the right direction. It might not be, we'll have our cypherpunk communities and the tech is there and people can go and use it, but we're gonna have to, find compromises and to bring more people on chain. I think the adoption of stable is just amazing. So yeah, I'm very excited about that and how that can change the world for the better.
Yeah, it's like the path to become underlying technology might be boring, right? Like we don't necessarily want people to know that they're using the tech, or I don't want my mom when she's using an app to know that it's underlying, right? It's easy and she's using it, but that isn't as sexy as the cypherpunk. Yeah, I see the balance. Let's have both, right?
Exactly. We can have both. I think that's awesome. We can still have, seed phrases and, people coming up with all sorts of ways to have self-custody, which is awesome, right? I mean, we should keep that.
Of course.
But again, we need, things like social recovery and to make it very simple for people to onboard. And that's happening. And yeah, that's exciting. But for a lot of maybe the earlier communities, that's like, oh no, this is boring. It's compromised.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. It's a balance. I spend a lot of time talking about just compliance, right? And how Midnight opens the door for, as we were talking, HIPAA and for banks and keeping transaction data protected. And yes, it isn't that exciting, but there is something exciting in the fact that it opens up the door to projects that may have died on the vine like years ago, right? It's like these projects that may have been someone's, passion 5-6 years ago, but that couldn't have ever come to fruition because it just it couldn't go on in an immutable ledger. And so there is something really exciting about the opportunity of people returning to something that they had to put away many, many years ago. And now, hey, we get to bring it back. So that's the narrative I'm playing into as of late. Like, I'm like, let's find those projects. Let's pull them out from the closet and make them happen. So there's something to be said there. We can spin it. We can make it. We can degenify it somehow.
Definitely, yeah. There's still going to be so much DeFi innovation happening, especially with privacy paradigms coming. But yeah, I think we're seeing this convergence, and some people don't like it, but I think it's the best thing that this space has right now, and everyone should double down on it, and we definitely are with Midnight, so that's awesome.
Well, Luca, this has been such a joy, and again, what an incredible partnership working with OpenZeppelin so far, and I can't believe we're upon a year. And thank you so much for today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a great time talking to you.
That wraps up our conversation with Luca Cosivi. We explored the world of smart contract security, OpenZeppelin's open source initiatives, and the challenges and innovations that help developers build robust, scalable, and secure decentralized applications. And if you found this episode interesting, be sure to check out part 2, where we review the open source smart contracts and example dApps OpenZeppelin has developed for the Midnight Network. If you found this episode valuable, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to follow us on social media for more insights on blockchain, decentralization, and the technologies shaping the future of Web3.